Welcome back to Random Anime Review. I hope that all 4 of you watching in this video enjoy it. Since obviously no one new is coming here, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. What anime do we get this time? Let's see. Bro, of course an ad. Come on, give me a good random anime here. Slow Wi-Fi bibbas be like, slow Wi-Fi. Okay, looks like we got The World of Narue. Let's read the description. Meet Narue, an adorable schoolgirl with a secret. She's really an alien with powers right out of a sci-fi comic, but growing up is never easy, and sometimes it doesn't help when you're from outer space. Join our spunky heroine as she faces androids, alien invaders, and her first date with the boy next door. It's the sci-fi comedy that's a direct hit to your heart. It sounds intriguing enough of a premise. Let's see if I still think that after watching the show though. Let's get started with the plot. Cliche Japanese schoolboy walking home one day and he sees this bruh puppy. Should be looking like some chewed up rag looking ass Camden Build-A-Bear bootleg ass shit. Bruh walks by like a savage. Come back for whatever reason and tries to PETA it, but he has absolutely yeeted on as it transforms into the dog from Dog with a Blow and attacks him. But the random Japanese schoolgirl comes through and beats the shit out of it with a baseball bat. Girl is Narue, an alien from space, and the dog's actually a space monster. They go to school and the boy meets cliche perverted friend with buzz cut from every anime who teases his crush on Narue, who they look up is actually from the Galactic Federation. How do you not notice this shit? He plans to thank her for saving him and tries to pass his fly girl. We cut to the girls' locker room and fan service with bras and panties galore. This show never misses an opportunity for fan service, which is wild because we barely even know the characters at this point. There's the cliched secondary female protagonist hellbent on fraudulating the primary female protagonist, and they all get bullied by the big-tittied big girl. These are all sophomores, so sophomore cringe 2017. Narue looking like an oblong bruh every time she gives a profile shot. She even has this bruh face and pauses like an autist every 10 seconds as if her CPU's overloaded. Anyways, she self-deprecates like your average teenage I watch Billie Eilish girl, and they come home for some tea. All of a sudden, the fucking Clash of Clans goblin comes out of nowhere and tries to clap this man's Brock from Pokemon. Boy protag tries to be chivalrous, but fails miserably because he didn't take off his shoes, which is mad disrespect. Girl says she wants to show the guy something special, but then she Mega Man teleports out of there while he gets rotated into the nether realm. The special thing was her planet, which is just Earth, but really also her panties, and then they start dating. Narue and Kazuto go on a movie date because this relationship's train's got places to be. To be honest, I've already lost interest at this point. Maybe I was wrong. The fan service might actually be necessary to keep anyone awake. Like seriously, every cut to ad break is some lolly upskirt. I ain't about that life, cuh. We get the cliched what I like to call ABCD plot, where A, B are doing some activity together while C and D, who are otherwise separate, bond closer together in spying or disrupting said event. Purple girl and pervy dude are C and D. Apparently they're neighbors that fell out of sync or something, but she likes stars, so that's cool for him to break and enter into her house. Pervy guy gives cliched bad dating advice to Kazuto, and it horribly backfires. C tells him to suppress his gamer instinct because everyone knows Karen hates gamers, but turns out Karen was a gamer all along. This sad gamer unknowingly lost out on some quality gamer girl coochie. Tragic. This gamer is so depressed he drops his movie tickets in the arcade, leading to more gilded dilemma, but they bond along the way because why not? Watch your ass, Stephen King, your boy coming through. They find the tickets back in the arcade and go watch this boring movie. Narue sucks some BBC at the theater before falling sound asleep, just like me watching this episode. They all come home and have a shop and stop day. This is what some may consider the cringe episode, but don't worry, we still have more to come. Narue and Kazuto decide to hang out in Kazuto's crib. Sometimes I wonder how these episodes are paced out, because on the one hand there's a clear progression, but on the other it feels like too much is happening at once without any passage of time. Like for example, what happened to going to school? Are we just gonna skip over that now? But I digress. Kazuto is further expressed as a loser when his cliched overbearing mom is visually surprised that Kazuto actually brought a girl home. His sister does the exact same show and dance. They go to his room and what ensues is yet another EAP cliched. Kazuto desperately scrambles to hide his porn magazines from Nanase, but it's to no avail. She finds them and they have a good laugh. Then he and Narue discover the internet. Specifically, 1999 Microsoft Windows, and on it of course is the 1 terabyte homework folder. We rinse and repeat the EAP cycle. Narue has apparently never interacted with a human before, and it's genuinely amazed by epic Microsoft free online no virus manatee animated screensaver 2003 still works screensaver.
Kazuto then prints out the screensaver, with a complete disregard for how much ink he just wasted on that picture, and how much that cost. Just when they're about to smash, Mom comes out of nowhere and starts cock-blocking them. His sister does this intermittently too. As a result of this, they run out of things to do, somehow. If they didn't cut to the random B plot, no, not even a B plot, more like an 8.5 plot, with that mom and sister family gossiping, this thing wouldn't make any damn sense.
Now, of course, because Kazuto is such a loser, he pulls out his favorite anime, action cartoon with breasted female, and watches it engrossingly, perhaps a little too much. Narue doesn't seem to care too much, but is not annoyed by it either. Of course, it has the Sailor Moon cliche transformation, and I know it's a parody, but still, every fucking anime. Kazuto's mom and sister walk in on him watching anime and absolutely flame his ankles in front of his girlfriend for being such a loser, and apologize profusely that Narue had experienced this gamerness. What a sad day for all gamers. They must have had a good night because Narue decided it's time to show Kazuto her special spot. No kidding, this is exactly how it's worded in the show. The special spot wasn't coochie, but rather a hill with stars on it. These city slickers, I swear, don't even know what damn stars. They ain't never seen a pretty night sky in their damn life. They're having a good night, gazing at the stars, when all of a sudden shit goes full Black Clover. Could it be? Was the boring plot of the first 3 episodes all a facade for a huge plot twist? Nope. While it looks like there was supposed to be some sort of conflict between Narue and this, if I were to guess, leader of our alien race, it instead fizzles out depressingly, like when you try to hold in the nut but some leaks out and then you just give up. Everything returns to normal, though I'm not sure this is necessarily better than just being all a dream, because at least the plot would all make sense, albeit cheap. With this ending, the plot still feels cheap and doesn't make any sense. Kazuto wakes up to an annoying alarm clock that goes on for far too long. A very creative and original start to a moving picture sequence that has never happened before. Luckily, his girlfriend spawns out of nowhere with a soup ladle for some reason and helps him turn off the alarm clock. Apparently, Narue is gonna meet her older sister today that she just learned about. How is that even possible? How does she not know who her sister is, and yet at the same time act like she's meeting Auntie Mabel for an Easter brunch? Anyways, Narue and Kazuto decide to go on a walk to an unknown destination, when all of a sudden some rude lolly tackles Kazuto. I like how they went for some sort of dramatic jumping off of building slow-mo when in reality he just fell to the ground because an 8-year-old bumped into him. Very Bollywood of you, world of Narue. And of course, as you might expect, that 8-year-old is none other than Narue's sister. She is Google mapping her way back to her father's Brock's house. Epic funny moment happens when she opens the door and sees father without pant. So funny, very much like Family Guy. Narue also spawns into the house, leading to another epic funny misunderstanding when Kanaka thinks Narue is her stepmom. Wow, what a misunderstanding. It's not like this near episode long dilemma can be resolved by saying 3 words, I'm your sister, or alternatively, she's your sister. Of course, the father still hasn't put his pants on and trips over them for yet another epic funny moment. Kanaka teleports away angry like an agitated Abra. She goes into her ship, the Bath Escape, which can manifest itself into a person of an ambiguous age. Here, she acts like a complete tween and kidnaps Kazuto and holds him hostage, or in her words, force teleports him. But, my intelligent friend, you must have noticed a clear issue in the continuity here. Kanaka is older than Narue, but she's clearly depicted as younger. It's elementary, my dear gamer. It's due to the Uranus sushi effect. Since Kanaka decided to stow away on a USPS delivery truck going through a prismatic wormhole to reach her father, my boy Maxwell says, I'm gonna have to eat a couple years off you since you're traveling at the speed of light. For once, the science in a sci-fi show is somewhat accurate. You would age at a slower rate traveling that fast. So she ends up slowing down so much that even though she spends a few weeks on the USPS truck, 15 years pass in the real world. F in the chat. She straight up holds Kazuto for ransom, exchanging him for her father. Narue surprisingly accepts without hesitation, and the trade is made, with the Bath Escape transforming into an imperial Japanese home for some reason in a conveniently free real estate lot. For whatever reason, Kanaka has an electric Glock and nearly kills Kazuto, but luckily, Bath Escape also doubles as a mom. Kanaka gets super angsty that her father has calloused hands, well, because, I mean, you look how she's sitting here in further rest. She dips and shoots Narue and she dies. Just kidding, when has the protagonist ever died this early on? She's recovering and this family looks like it's all about to fall apart when all of a sudden Bath Escape shows Kanaka that her mom was just as stupid as she was and everything goes back to usual. Teasing each other about boys or whatever is the female gender typically engages in this time known as leisure. Kanaka tries to assimilate into school life, but it proves harder than it looks. We start off the episode with none other than good old fan service, however, this time Kazuto is being chastised for his perverted thoughts. In girl PE, Narue's just trying to live out her regular ass teenage girl life, doing whatever it is teenage girls do, and all of a sudden fucking Hajime forgot to take her meds and goes sicko mode on Narue, doming her with the dodgeball barrage. Everyone's chilling in the crib when suddenly Bath Escape gets a hair boner, and Kanaka's hearing aid lets them know they're being McCarthy'd. Kanaka goes and investigates to find Hajime, of all people, waving around her camera in the chilly autumn weather, hoping to get a photo of the aliens in that area. She's apparently too stupid to wear a jacket. Either that, or the writers need a contrived way for Hajime to exposit that she lives a super sad, boring loser life because she lacks parental figures in her household. Kanaka, feeling sorry for Hajime, tells Bath Escape to beam up an image to scuff a UFO sighting for Hajime, but she chooses a mackerel for whatever reason, rendering Hajime's picture basically worthless. Hajime decides to bother the crew some more, so much so that the big titty girls decide they can fabricate rumors of Hajime trying to take Narue's man. That they do, and Narue gets very upset. Very, very upset. At the same time, Kanaka is bullied for being boring and rich, and ends up befriending Hajime. This obviously stems conflict as Narue hates Hajime and Kanaka loves her. Don't worry, though, because this conflict blows over in literally 2 seconds and it's all good between everyone. The end. Kazuto wakes up to yet another anime lolly at his bed. Dude is a pussy magnet, I swear. This time, this girl, Rin, claims to be his little sister. Everybody acts rather normal in his family about this, as if he's always had this little sister in his family. Reminds me of that one episode of Rick and Morty with the parasites. We learn that the emperor of the aliens, that one old guy, needs to find a way to reduce terrorist activity in the nation, but the terrorists will only cease once Narue is extradited back to her home planet, for whatever reason. The ruler, knowing that he has to get Narue to leave Earth without breaking laws, such as hurting her or forcing her, sends his lollies to Earth to try and break up Narue and Kazuto's relationship. This lolly also has the power of mind control, and using the power of Zelda dungeon music, she can psy-beam anybody, even aliens, into doing her well. Kind of OP if you ask me. Narue sees Kazuto walking with his little sister and gets extremely jealous because no one in this anime knows how to fucking communicate. She assumes that Kazuto and Rin are dating and starts whining like a bitch. It also doesn't help that in this universe you can't talk to people of the opposite gender unless you're dating them, so of course everyone will relentlessly bully Narue for a loose boyfriend, just like in that last episode with Hajime. Hajime and Narue cut class to vent about boy issues, where for once in this stupid anime, someone has common sense and tells Narue not to jump to conclusions. Obviously nobody listens to Hajime's advice because we still have 6 more fucking episodes to go through. The show cuts back to Rin and Kazuto, where the proletariat government has seized Rin as communal property because she's seen as hot or something. Everybody starts standing Rin because that is in fact how East Asian culture works, and then they start fighting haters who dare and hate on their J-pop idol. Narue gets triggered and tries to jump Rin, but instead Kanaka saves her by teleporting the fuck out of there. At home, Bath Escape finally pops that exposition cherry and reveals that, like her, Rin is a mind-controlling lolly robot that was sent by the High Commissioner to deport Narue. Meanwhile, at the park, Rin reveals to Kazuto that she's actually from space, and that she's been watching Kazuto for a long time. Rin ransoms Kazuto, making it the second time he's been held hostage in this series thus far. Rin mind controls Kazuto to kiss her in order to break Narue, which for some reason the writers think has tension. I just don't get it. Why would Narue even think much of Kazuto kissing Rin? She knows that he's being mind controlled to do it, and he's obviously struggling against the temptation on top of that too. This goes double for Rin. Why does she think this plan would work, and why does it end up working at all? Regardless though, through the power of love, Kazuto can break through the spell, but not without the old tuck and tackle onto I-95. Luckily, because Rin is botting, she can Mr. Incredible the 18-wheeler and save the day. All's well that ends well, with the other 2 lollies helping Rin to ascend to heaven. The kiss at the end almost makes you forget that everyone forgot about the terrorists that are still afoot. With a fan service heavy anime like the world of Narue, a beach episode is basically guaranteed. Since it's so hot in Japan this summer, the main characters decide to go to the pool. Only thing is that they're too broke to afford a proper pool episode, and thus they have to settle for going to a public pool. Now, I know you Western viewers might be thinking of your own respective community pools and go, well, that's not terrible. But you don't understand what pools are like in East Asia. There are just too many damn people, to the point where you can't even see the water anymore. Imagine what the shit and piss contents must be in those pools. Fortunately for them, Kanaka gets a prize in the mail. A bowling ball. Thanks to this bowling ball, we can get more fan service of our favorite characters. Kanaka uses the ball to show the cast her private spots. No, that's not a joke, that's an actual quote from the show. Do the writers even realize their word choice, or was this intentional? They all step into the supply closet, not sus at all, and end up in a private resort paradise. Everyone is eager to swim except for Kazuto because he can. It's not like the others are so good at swimming either. I mean, what is this kicking from the bald perfy guy? Luckily for Kazuto, Kaneka is supplied with a can of jaw, which, with X's powerful nature, allows you to be extremely hydrophobic and repel water. Kazuto tries to swim a reverse IM with this, but obviously it backfires because once he starts, he can't stop, leading him to butterfly right on the pool floor, breaking his sternum. Realizing that Kazuto can't have fun with water, Kaneka changes the terrain into a Hawaiian jungle biome, where Narue and Kazuto can build a sandcastle. Hajime, being the typical bio party pooper, becomes invested in disproving the reality of the area, but gets caught up in the presence of extinct creatures in the area. She and Perv Dude eventually run into a woolly mammoth in the jungle who stampedes after them, which it's revealed Kaneka is controlling. She then decides to go fuck with Narue and Kazuto, resulting in their sandcastle being destroyed. What I don't get is why doesn't Narue instinctively teleport them the fuck out of there? Kaneka gets knocked off the mammoth, resulting in the bracelet she was using to control the reality to break, causing it to randomly change. Everyone gets thrown into some Mexican ruins. Hajime and Maru fuck around while Kazuto and Narue spend some quality time together. Things get especially interesting for Kazuto when it starts to downpour heavily. Kazuto and Narue cross a loose bridge, looking for everyone else when the bridge collapses under Narue, causing her to fall to what should have been an untimely demise. Somehow, she survives, and Kazuto also jumps down and somehow survives because the world operates on Minecraft physics. Kazuto forgets that he doesn't know how to swim and realizes they are both fucked as they head for a waterfall cliche. Only now does Narue realize that she can teleport, but it doesn't matter because she can't since they're in a video game, which still doesn't really make sense. They fall to their deaths, but they fortunately survive because dinosaur bath escape ex machina. Somehow she puts herself in the game, despite having no controller, and rescues everyone out. Ironically, a pretty decent plot as far as beach filler episodes go, as long as you're willing to overlook the obvious fan service cliches and plot holes. This episode serves mostly as backstory for how Narue's mom and dad met. The episode starts off with Narue and Kazuto heading over to Kaneka's house, because apparently they lack proper cooking devices like a microwave, for example. I don't understand why they don't just live together at this point. I mean, they are family and they do like each other, so why not? When Kazuto enters, Kaneka remarks that he's brought no gifts, despite being a guest, which is standard in most cultures. I thought this was pretty strange to say, because aren't they like close friends or even family? I mean, my thoughts were even backed as when Narue is about to exposit how her mom and dad met, Kazuto was going to dip because they weren't in his affairs to mess in, and yet Kaneka of all people says it's okay because they're family. Anyway, Tadashi, Narue's dad, is the Galaxian sent to survey Earth and how the wide variety of cultures are still able to maintain their differences and yet stay peaceful. Ironic considering this is not true at all, just look at the Middle East. On his home planet, people are constantly at war, except for the fact that they use their robots to fight each other instead of themselves. At some point or another, Kaneka's mom divorces Tadashi for some reason. One day, as Tadashi is still ruminating on this supposed peace on Earth, the chief commissioner instant transmissions and tells him to leave Earth at once, as they have new orders from their higher-ups to leave Earth alone and to not interact with it for whatever reason. Tadashi pulls a white police officer and thinks the commissioner is going to pull a gun on him for some reason and falls off a cliff into the waterfall from panicking. He is rescued from drowning by some Earth girl who later becomes Narue's mom. He, having nothing better to do with his life while the commissioner sends his lolly search and rescue team to find him, listens to her bitch all day about her life until she falls in love with him because he's the only person who can put up with her shit. Eventually they get married, but it's not over yet. The commissioner finds Tadashi and demands that he returns home with him, to which Narue's mom uses BS arguments to stop. For whatever reason, Tadashi still ends up almost leaving with the commissioner, but not before Narue's mom busts him the fuck out of there with the red clip art Ford mini SUV. The lollies try to go full-on Jason Bourne search mode, but their processing speeds are too slow and so it doesn't work out. The commissioner just decides to turn a blind eye for the next 15 years, bringing us to the present day, where the Galactic Federation demands that Narue is extradited from the planet. Today also happened to be the 6th anniversary of her mom's funeral, which is where the father has gone all this time. Meeting Tadashi there, he finally comes to the conclusion that his whole life he's been living out the answer to this investigation. Humans are good people. If that isn't a steaming load of crap, I don't know what is. I wasn't expecting it, but we got yet another beach episode. Must be real hot in Japan, huh? The episode opens up on a cock shadow. Nothing better than a good old cock shadow. The group decides to go to the beach, but Kaneka decides that it's best if she and Bath escape defect from Narue and Kazuto because they need some quality alone time. For whatever reason, Narue has a weird obsession with collecting seafood to cook and epically embarrass her boyfriend in front of millions. Seriously though, why are they so invested in a couple of teenagers going clamming? You're telling me they have nothing better to do with their lives? Damn. Since they're having rather shitty luck clamming on the beach, they decide to go eel hunting out in the ocean. Meanwhile, Bath Escape and Kanaka are having one of those "I'm so proud of my friends" moments where they waffle over how well Narue and Kazuto get along. They eventually come across an island bar, where all of a sudden the bartender, a girl known as Haruna, gets a major orgasm from seeing Bath Escape. Haruna thinks that Bath Escape still works for the military and is here to abduct her back, so she decides to threaten suicide via soup ladle, which backfires due to the power of lolly kicks. They eventually calm her down and get over her FBI-like suspicions enough that they become close friends and she reveals her origin story. Haruna was one of the military ship robots mentioned in the last episode that deserted because she didn't like that kind of life. When she fled to Earth, she met some kind beach owner who gave her tea and they had sex. The end. Meanwhile, Narue is living the boomer's paradise, catching fuck tons of clams, sea urchins, and essentially wiping out an entire sea ecosystem. Unfortunately for Narue, a random earthquake in Japan causes a tsunami, probably from all those damn kaijus, and now the whole beach is in trouble. Luckily for everyone, Haruna comes to the rescue by exposing she's a robot and that she and her cock shadow energy blast the tsunami away, though not before Narue loses her game. So the aliens are cool with Haruna revealing she's a giant warship, but everyone freaks out if Narue says she's an alien. What sort of shit? I'm not even sure what's supposed to be happening anymore. This show is 1 season long and we have 2 episodes left, yet we are still waiting to see that overarching plot develop. Instead, we got more filler in the form of an Otaku episode. Kazuto is apparently a big anime fan and goes to a con to meet this voice actor Kiriri, who voices a character in his favorite show. But oh no, Narue doesn't like that. Kazuto devotes his attention to anyone other than her and gets super mad. Though I have to say, for all the shit I'm giving Narue for acting so self-centered, putting her in line even though she has no ticket was definitely a dick move on Kazuto's part though. She storms off all pissed, and then with Hajime resolves that the only way to get Kazuto's attention back is to go into cosplay herself. Meanwhile, for no reason whatsoever, OO idol Kiriri decides she wants to break these guys up for whatever reason. Also, I'm not kidding, she literally is the OO cat girl fetish where they speak with W's instead of R's or L's. To piss Narue off, she decides to make Kazuto a judge in a Yongu cosplay contest, who's another character from the show. Narue and Hajime go full sewing sicko mode and try to replicate the costume of Yongu. Meanwhile, Kazuto spends his day jerking himself off into a tissue that he lost Narue, while the writers, through Bald Pippa, give him the most jank advice. It's kind of fucked to say all women act like petty prima donnas who cling to their boyfriends like glue, but what do I know? They realized that they were missing crucial components of the Yongu costume, so they called this man's Bald Pippa over to help them out, because how else do we blaringly scream in the audience's face that the characters are bonding? They get a little, open with my bald boy Pippa. So he has to excuse himself, which I found peculiar. Do girls really start going fucky when there's no guys around? I find it hard to believe, but honestly I wouldn't be surprised. Through the power of adrenaline, which I should mention is completely arbitrary in this scenario, they make the necessary adjustments and Narue last minute cliches her way in there, and wins the competition only to ditch the trophy. Blah blah blah, Kazuto loves her, whatever blah blah blah, and then she fucking kills him and he dies of brain trauma. What? This episode really just tried to touch all the typical anime bases for the episode climax. We got the studying for midterms cliche, the bathhouse perv scene, the delicious food scene, a wedding scene, a divorce backstory, the works. The episode starts off with everyone hard grinding for spring midterms, as one does in Japan. Then Kanaka gets a letter from Haruna, if you recall she's the plane chick from the beach episode, saying that since the beach cafe affair, she and the owner, her love, have moved into an inn resort that Akio's parents own, and that she's inviting them all over. They all forget about midterms because that was just a cheap crutch to start an episode. They go there and bathe for the aforementioned bathhouse scene. Manses are getting scammed out here since the adjoining gendered bathhouses are separated in such a manner where the girls can peek at the guys but not vice versa. This says a lot about society. They definitely revealed a lot more than I thought they had the balls to do, which was interesting. Then they ate some good food before learning the marital struggles of Akio and Haruna, being that they're multiracial and Akio's parents won't approve of their marriage. Glad we're really hitting on all those contemporary issues, writers. Narue apparently has a massive marriage planning boner and convinces the crew to work on the marriage, the two of them in secret. They're about to finish when Akio's mom catches them and demands an explanation, but the writers decide to employ the classic time skip method and don't delve into the details of how such a conversation would play out. The marriage is a success, and at this point I'm just wondering what any of this has to do with anything when Narue just starts dropping story bombs left and right. Narue's aspiration is to be a bride, which is why she likes marriage so much. Her aspirations are such because she looked after her mother, a bride, who who sacrificed her life in a car crash for her daughter. That's great and all, but really? Getting married is your life goal? No offense, but you already found your perfect soulmate at the age of 15, so then what? Just fucking die? Speaking of which, what happened to the main story arc with the terrorists and Narue being extradited from Earth? Are we just gonna neglect that elephant? All that and more better be answered in the final episode of World of Narue. To my surprise, this episode did resolve the terrorist arc. Those glibas came back in with a vengeance. The terrorists then bootleg Yu-Gi-Oh! Pillarman just to straight up kill Narue and her friends. In space, Robot Lolly received word of a Middle Eastern raid on their ships, so they send Lolly's Red and Blue to go fight them since Lolly Yellows needs to stay behind for plot convenience. The problem with these Yu-Gi-Oh! Aliens is that they decide to keep regenerating health until the show decides to forget about them. Red gets bit by one and we cut over to Earth, where a moon festival is occurring in town. Of course, Narue and Kazuto go there as a couple since we need our daily dose of kawaii, but wait, there's more! Now Hajime and Maru are sort of dating, so that's 2 for the price of 1. The Pillarmen use Zawarudo to freeze everyone except for Narue and her friends to go on and do an epic duel. They're about to get killed when Yellow Lolly Ex Machina comes through and allows them to dip. She gives Narue and Kazuto these high-tech devices that can transform into anything you want them to, kind of like in that one crappy Transformers movie with Megan Fox. I don't think they heard the part where Rin said, anything you want, because they picked the most boring, unimaginative shit in existence. Like seriously, a baseball bat? If it can be literally anything, why would he pick something that gives you a chance of losing? Why not some sort of nuke or some sort of villain go bye-bye weapon that fetus deletism out of existence? At least Kazuto's goes for some sort of semi-auto Gatling gun, but that doesn't work because he doesn't use his imagination to think of more powerful bullets, I guess. See, there's the problem with imagination-based weapons. You either make the weapons too powerful and the fight becomes boring, or you make the weapons too weak and the audience is left feeling as though the plot tension is artificial. Meanwhile, Kanaka, Tadashi, and Bath Escape are also attacked by one of these Clash of Clans goblins. I still don't understand why these guys are even a big deal, as we saw Narue beat the shit out of one in the first episode. It's just so stupid how these low-level minions are basically the final boss of this series. This time, however, I guess no one has a bat so they can't kill them, and Bath Escape can't harm him because robotics law says she can't hurt a life form. But she can still trap him in a cage forever, which to me seems like a concerning loophole that all of these robots can just indefinitely trap you. Meanwhile, Rin is also met with the same issue that she can't kill them, but surely after many years in the Lolly infantry, she will also learn to use the net strategy that Bath Escape used, right? Nope. She goes full-on hentai scream mode and gives up. Luckily for Rin, Ron and Ren also show up to save the day by using the same net technique that Rin should know. You think we're all chilling, but finally Ran's rabies start kicking in and she decides to shoot Narue, but not before Ren goes in for the sacrificial shot cliche and dies. Rin then fucking shoots Ron and now basically everyone's dead. You'd think that this would be where most of the plot would revolve around, getting rid of Ron's virus and healing the other 2 lollies, but then you see the time left in the episode and realize they're just gonna sweep it under the rug, letting the High Commissioner teleport down there and do the usual episode 12 mentor monologue BS. The conversation goes like this. Hey man, you want some exposition? Nah, but you should. Actually nah, I changed my mind. Okay. Look man, I don't mean to step on no toes or anything, but all I'm saying is you and your girl use meshing. Yeah, okay, cool, see ya. Okay, bye. And then some fireworks happen and everything is all lovey-dovey, if you choose to ignore the literal war happening in Earth's orbit, and the fact that 3 of their closest friends are dying or dead at the moment. As far as plot goes, this one isn't nearly as terrible as Handshakers, but it isn't something incredibly original for a slice-of-life anime. Oftentimes, the plot doesn't feel fleshed out or other times feels stretched. It's as if the writers were not able to prioritize the issues within each episode. In general, filler episodes are okay in a long TV series, but for such a short show, the world of Narue has far too many filler episodes, to the point where the show as a whole loses direction and feels derailed from the central plot of Kazuto and Narue figuring out the ins and outs of being in a relationship. In fact, there are so many filler episodes that the show ends up going against its original direction, where instead it feels far too often that Kazuto and Narue are well accustomed to being together, and when their relationship is challenged by whatever the episode throws at them, the threat feels superficial and non-existent, since most of it stems from a lack of communication that could be resolved in a couple of words. Every time the tension rises as the plot actually becomes interesting, it gets quickly wiped out or resolved, as seen in Ron's virus issue, Narue being extradited from the planet, or the Commissioner coming down to Earth. All of these could easily be extrapolated into an episode or 2, but are instead resolved in less than a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, simple dilemmas nobody cares about, like Kanaka thinking Narue is her mom, or gossip leading to Narue thinking Kazuto is dating the various girls seen in the show, span multiple episodes. Another issue I found within the story is the lack of character development in certain plot scenarios. Normally I would section this off in a different part of the video, but in this show the main issues with character development stem from what I mentioned earlier, being the fact that certain plots are never really resolved. This leads to issues because we never know why anyone's doing anything in this anime. Why are the aliens so discontent with Narue being on Earth? Are there not other aliens just chilling on Earth? Why don't the main characters just all move to Narue's home planet, as they have barely any connections to other Earth people, tethering them to stay back on Earth the planet? Why does the High Commissioner even care about protecting Narue's family? Why would Kanaka just be so nonchalant about hearing her mother committing suicide? Does she really care more that her dad isn't cheating than her mom's death? Many motivations in the show are never revealed, other than the generic, oh I did this for true love ones, because the plot never lasts long enough for us to see any character motivations. As for the episodic plot lines, it's so clear that this anime had no sense of passion or direction. You'll never see those classic literary devices like foreshadowing, which imply thought went into the anime, and instead you'll see it appeals to the generic otaku fantasy, cosplay episode, beach episode 2, forbidden love episode. It's all the same. It's okay to use cliches, but only when you use them in a creative way. The world of Narue consistently follows the same generic plot mountain you'd see in 6th grade, and only uses cliches in the most bare bones ways possible. This is an anime that went full ADHD trying to please all audiences and ends up doing shoddy work in all and pleasing none. As for visual design, it looks like every early 2000s, late 90s anime ever made. There are no breathtaking or visually engaging shots, it's just standard master shots, medium shots, and long shots. The characters look like stock redesigns, like they were simply recolored. For a sci-fi anime, there are no fight scenes whatsoever, let alone interesting fight scenes. This also stems from the fact that every plotline is resolved ridiculously fast. I bet the script went something like, in parentheses, they fight. And whoever did the storyboarding for this anime had the most unimaginative, revolutionary war-type battles that last 1 second before cutting away to the bland main plot no one cared about. Occasionally, basic polish like maintaining size proportions is intrinsically and extrinsically is completely lost. This creates scenes where at one point Kazuto is taller than Narue, and in another shot, he's shorter. Sometimes the characters are just poorly drawn, period. I feel as though perhaps they ripped some stock head shots, but not any profile shots for a generic anime girl, because when characters like Narue turn, they look like an oblong bra, as mentioned earlier. I remember for whatever reason episode 8 looked actually good, but then I realized I was probably just looking at it in a higher resolution. They even managed to mess up basic editing like color grading and lighting. For an anime that's sci-fi / romance, it looks incredibly dreary as a result of the lighting. Everything isn't saturated enough, and the lighting usually always maintains the same position, which really adds to the dull work office feel of the show. I thought maybe it was just the first scene that looked so because it was raining, but then the show kept the same overcast lighting for the rest of the show. Maybe if the artist stopped nosebleeding so hard over panty shots, they would have enough circulation to their head to realize some of the most banal mistakes they made. As for the music, it's incredibly generic and uninspired, to the point where my brain automatically mutes it out as if it was Kevin MacLeod music in a YouTube video. For a romance / sci-fi anime, the anime rarely has its romantic or action moments. We never really see actual development in the relationship between Narue and Kazuto, and are instead left to infer that the lessons that they learn each episode actually impact the relationships, and the show's writing and art do a poor job of reflecting it. The anime really rushes the part where Narue and Kazuto get together, taking only 2 episodes to worry about that before having their relationship stagnate for the rest of the show. You could rearrange episodes 3 to 11 in any way you want, and nothing would change because the characters never grow closer or further apart throughout the series. The episodes are all random, this moment in history type segments that transition jarringly from one to the other. In other words, perfect for Saturday morning TV, where maybe you didn't catch all of the episodes of the show and you don't need to understand what exactly is going on. The downfall, however, is that who would want to watch a random episode of this show on a Saturday morning because it's the most boring, complacent, safe show imaginable. If they were going for the momentariness of Saturday cartoons, they should have kept the episodes at a faster, action-paced pace instead of dragging out filler plots no one cared about. As for the development of side characters, most don't develop at all, like Kanaka, who barely shifts from annoying and territorial to just annoying, and some develop off-screen. Take Hajime and Marua's relationship, for example. Very rarely will the B-plot even hint at some sort of chemistry between them, but otherwise it's like looking at a camera roll. Instead of seeing fluid relationship development, we get static development, as if the audience is looking at various snapshots in the lives of these people. I had to look up these characters' names several times because they're just that forgettable. As for Narue's family dynamics, they just don't make any sense at all. For whatever reason, she and her family live in separate houses even though they are close. The father is the stereotypical dumb klutz dad cliche and rarely has any development in character, even in that episode dedicated to his prior life on Earth, which is somehow twisted so that the attention falls more on how it impacts Narue and Kaneka and less the dad. I still don't understand what even happened to Kaneka's mother, because everything is vaguely implied. And worse yet, the tragic ending of Narue's mother is left as a simple tag-along to the end of an episode to show how Narue is supposedly grown as a character. It's rather evident that all of the show's characters merely serve as a way to be related back to Narue in one way or another. All in all, the world of Narue is a bland, unoriginal anime that could be argued as worse than Handshakers. At least Handshakers left me cringing, which is a feeling. This show left me without any feelings, save for the feeling that I wasted my time watching this anime. I decided I'm gonna stop the categorized scoring because I think it may unintentionally make some anime seem better or worse than they really are. For example, even though in each respective category I concur with the score I gave Handshakers in the last review, I felt as though the overall score was far too high for the show. I think for now at least I'm gonna rate Animations overall out of 10. The world of Narue, which occasionally hints at an interesting plot lines, ends up beating around the bush or skirting away from its interesting topics in the interest of being formulaic and basic, giving it a 4 out of 10. Be sure to like for more random anime reviews and hopefully we get better luck next time. Bye.